Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Cura Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
Casey Perkal on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, Casey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Steve. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Florida. So let's see. It's September. Has it cooled off yet, or is it still hot and muggy? Or is it?
Well, I feel like it's always a little hot and muggy, except until you get into November, December. But it's better. It's better right now. My parents have the right idea. They're snowbirds, so they only come down about mid-November and then ditch me when it starts to get hot again. So
I never really fully understood the whole snowbird terminology or anything until I went to Florida as a young man in like January or something. And I remember thinking, I get it now. I understand.
Yep. Yes. I totally get that life. And being a New Yorker from New York originally, and my parents being from there, that's about as common of a snowbird travel snowbird situation as you can get right there.
No doubt. But July and August is rough. Are you just used to it now, or it's rough, right?
I've been down here 6 years. I would say, I don't know if you ever get fully used to it, but I'm much more used to it than I was when I first moved down. But I'll tell you, my girlfriend and I, since we both work remotely, lived in Austin, Texas for a few months, and it was worse. It was worse there.
Yes, I lived in Austin for several years. July and August. Yeah, it sucks in July and August there too, for sure. Yeah.
But this was April, May, and June. April, May were fine, and then June it was hitting upper 90s almost every day.
Yeah, I totally agree. Austin's a cool town, but it's hot in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great town. We really enjoyed it there.
What year were you there?
We were just there this year.
Oh, just there. Okay.
Yeah, we were just there. We were in between leases, and so we decided, hey, let's try out something new. Went to Austin, and we both really enjoyed it.
We could do a separate podcast episode on some 6th Street stories that I could.
I believe it. If you live there for a while. In 3 months, I don't know how many great stories I have, but I'm sure we could trade a few.
So we're going to get into walking canes, so the listeners will hear about it. But I just jump ahead real quick to tell you this, because my wife Kim is working walking canes part-time with you. Interestingly enough, you probably didn't know this. That's how we met. So we met at a honky-tonk dance hall west of Austin. That's how I met Kim.
I thought you were going to say with a walking cane. I really wanted to hear the story.
No, we were at an old dance hall, and that's how we met. So that's when I lived in Austin. So, but anyway,
So were you just like putting the moves on, and that's just
I had
for you? Or?
Well, I had been through a divorce. And so I was 20. 8 and I was trying to pick up chicks. And so I took some dancing lessons. And so that helps in a town where they know how to two-step and swing. If you're a single guy and you actually know what the hell you're doing, like you can make moves faster.
I might need dancing lessons in general, not for that same reason, but I could get some dance lessons.
You got a girlfriend, you said. Were you married before, or is this first time? What's your status?
No, we're living together. Great relationship. Her name's Alex. She's actually in the other room working. She works in real estate. And yeah, we met here in Florida.
Did you? How'd you meet? Club?
Not a club. We met through mutual friends, and surprisingly not on a dating app, which seems to be the norm these days. Not that I'm opposed, but yeah, no, we met through mutual friends.
Okay. Was it immediate, or was it like, she's okay, I don't know, we'll see?
We were friends for a while. So it was one of those where I think we both slowly had to realize, wait a second, this is not meant to be a friendship. It's meant to be more than that.
Cool. Okay. Well, how old are you? You mind me asking?
No, not at all. 36.
36. Okay. You're never close to being married before? No, some serious stuff in there earlier, or no?
No, I mean, I had some longer term relationships, but
good for you. Good for you.
Never, I would say never close to being married.
That's another podcast then, because obviously if you're 36 and you haven't been married, you got some stories in there, my friend.
Probably. So now you have to have me on 3 times total. Your poor listeners are going to be just so sick of me.
I'm guessing you weren't at mass every day. You were probably having a little bit of fun when you were younger.
I think I had a decent time, but I don't know if I was the opposite of going to mass, where it was just having a crazy time all the time either. Somewhere in between. Well,
what kind of childhood did you grow up in? Tell me about your folks and your early life siblings. Yeah, tell me about it a little bit.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very business-oriented and entrepreneurial family. Okay. My father he initially was a corporate lawyer for a long time.
That's why you have the law degree. Now I see.
That is why partially why I have the law degree. Exactly.
Okay.
And so he and my mother started a chain of children's hair salons back in 1991.
While he was practicing, or kind of like he stopped practicing?
Oh no, while he was practicing. He is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in my life. It's where he's someone I've learned a ton from. Cool. But yeah, so the two of them back in 91 started Cartoon Cuts, which is a chain of children's hair salons based in the Washington, D.C. area. Right. And it was, so my older brother, who's 21 months older than me, he and I were the reason they started, because when we were 4 and 6 years old, they would take us to barber shops and we were just a nightmare. We wouldn't sit still, and it just was a terrible experience for both my parents and the barber. So at the time, now they exist, they're pretty frequent, children's hair salons, but at the time there were no chains of children's hair salons. So they launched the first one. So my mom has mostly from day one run the day-to-day of Cartoon Cuts. And my father was just involved more as like a board advisor. Right? He's the chairman of it, but he wasn't so involved in the day-to-day.
Did you work the business when you were a teenager or college or anything?
So I worked the business during 2 periods. Actually 3. So this is a good story. The first one. Okay. So my brother and I, when we were probably, they probably started the business maybe a year or 2 in. And so we would sometimes have to go to the office because my mom would be working at the office, and, we'd have to spend some time there after school. And so I'm sure we were super annoying, and so my mom would put us to work. And one of the things that we had to do was they would get these giant packages of ponios. I don't know if you know what a ponio is, but it's what you put in a ponytail. It's like a tiny little band where you can tie your hair back. So I don't know if they're still big. They probably are. I haven't stayed, really up to date with the ponio market. But anyway, they were big back then, and they came in all different colors. So my mother had us separate out the colors because they needed to be separated, because the customer wanted to have the colors separated. So we put them all there. It was probably 10 years ago, we learned afterwards she would just take them all and dump them back in, and the colors wouldn't be separated anymore because there was no need to do that for the
That's pretty good. That's a good story.
So that was my first experience working with cartoon cuts. And then,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I worked a little bit there, at times when I was in high school, just as like the receptionist occasionally. Okay. Just like when we were visiting the DC area. And then the reason I moved down to Florida was to run the business for a little while. So that's because they brought me down here.
They retired and they wanted like a president or somebody to take over? Or?
Yeah. So my mother, she's still quite young, but at the time wanted somebody to come in and run the day-to-day. I was working for a brand called Pure Protein at the time, so mostly had marketing experience. And I had also started a small men's grooming company, which we could chat about later. But she wanted somebody who kind of would bring a fresh perspective to the company. And I was someone who was certainly, top of mind because I'm a part of the family, and she wanted to stay in the family, ideally. And so, she came to me and offered me the position. And at first, I thought she was saying, do you want to come in and help out with marketing? And to be honest, my thought with just that was, I don't know if I want to work for you, Mom. Like, it creates an awkward dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. So then she said, no, what I'm talking about is, would you want to come and run the business? So I said, that sounds pretty interesting. And the corporate office was down here in Florida. It's now in the DC area. And so I came down here, met with the team, really liked them, and decided to come and take over the business for a couple of years. So
now you were also running your own business called Shave Face at the time.
So Shave Face was before. So I launched Shave Face, and this was right out of law school. So I launched Shave Face, and in very early days when I was helping with cartoon cuts, Shave Face was still in existence. But shortly thereafter, Shave Face, we ended up closing up shop. But so Shave Face launched right out of law school. Business partner and I, it was a very fun idea. So we figured out that disposable razor blades actually can last a whole lot longer than most people think. So what Gillette and all these companies, Bic, they all teach you that once the strip on your razor blade goes bad, or once the blade starts to feel a little dull, it's time to throw it out, right?
That's what I do. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's probably harder to believe me saying this when I have a beard. So everybody's going to watch this and say, this idiot, he has no idea what he's talking about. But you can actually hone and realign your razor blade to make it last longer. So say
even the average cheap ones, even the cheap disposables,
even the cheap ones, I would recommend using something better like a Mach 3 or a Fusion. But what you can do is, so there's a product called a strop, and a barber's strop was something that barbers used to use way back in the day to hone straight razors. So it's that same exact concept, and it works well for disposable razor blades. And what it would do is it takes the blades and it just puts them back, it realigns them back into place. Because the reason that it really gets worn down is because the blades are so thin and they get pulled out of place. And that's what's causing the hairs to get
interesting
tugged on every time you're shaving. So
interesting. I've seen those straps in the old cowboy movies, the old Western movies.
Exactly. So we created a modern version of that was made out of raw denim and leather, and initially launched on Kickstarter. My business partner and I blew past our goal on Kickstarter. Launched the company out of there. Had some early success. Got some publicity. And where we struggled was we launched complementary items, which, like, what exactly do you launch unless you're launching a razor blade? Like, what are the other products that you're launching there? So
shaving cream,
razor blades, what was that?
Shaving cream. I don't know what else was
that. That's what we went with. We went with shaving cream. We went with aftershave balm, and the attachment rate was terrible. We had a really hard time convincing the customer who may have trusted us. Hey, this is a cool tool that you've given us, but what do you know about skincare, right? Like, what do you know about something that is going to feel much better on my face than all of these trusted brands out there? So because of that lack of attachment, we had a really hard time getting repeat purchases. We needed that to succeed because people would buy one strop, and maybe we made it too well engineered because it would last forever, right? Like everybody who has one that I know of, we all still have the strop, and it's still in the exact same condition. So it was great to nice product, but at the same time, it.
So when you came out of law school, or maybe even when you were in law school, were you already thinking, I'm going to get this law degree, which will come in handy, but I want to be an entrepreneur?
No, I actually went into law school. So it was about my junior year so I studied abroad in Istanbul in Turkey.
Cool. All right.
And while I was over there, I took an international law class and I loved it. I was like, this is so cool. I never really considered, despite the fact that my father had gone to law school, I never really considered it. I didn't think it would be something that I would be interested in. But after I took this class, it's like, all right, this is something that I might want to check out. So senior year, studied for the LSATs, took the LSATs, got into law school and went to Cardozo, New York, right in Union Square. And I really thought I was going to enjoy it. I got there. First year, everybody hates, which I hated as well. But, put my nose to the grindstone and got through it. And then I realized in the middle of second year, a lot of people were starting to like it more than I was. And I was pretty miserable, and I was midway through. So my options at that point were, do you drop out and have wasted a year and a half of your life, or do you suck it up, finish out law school? You're getting a good education. I was learning a ton, right? Like from a way of thinking perspective and just general knowledge, like it's super useful. So I decided, you know what, I can suck this up. So I graduated, passed the bar, and then, but knowing during that whole period that I was going to do something else.
And you had the entrepreneurial blood and spirit in you from your parents, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
After being a corporate attorney, went over to the private equity side and consumer products. So while it's not exactly entrepreneurship, that cartoon cuts combined with his business experience, just having that sort, he switched over when I was in 7th grade. Having that around me, I think,
no doubt,
I was very lucky to have that every day, where I got to see what that type of career would be like and see if it's something that I'd be interested in, and just through osmosis pick up some pretty usul knowledge.
Yeah, that's great. Were you a good kid, straight A student, somewhere in the middle, rebel?
So 8th, 9th, 10th grade, I was a total pain in the neck. I don't know if I can curse on this.
Yeah, sure you can. Yeah.
I was a pain in the ass. And I think I just had always assumed, all right, you're reasonably intelligent. You'll figure things out. Like, it's 8th, 9th, 10th grade. Who cares, right? And so I would do the bare minimum kind of just to get through school. And I wasn't a bad kid in terms of getting in trouble. My schoolwork, I wouldn't really do. So my parents finally had a chat with me, and they're like, well, I'm sure they had numerous chats with me, but this last chat was like, look, Casey, you either need to go to boarding school, or like, we gotta get this figured out. And so I agreed. I went to all boys boarding school, and it was a great thing for me. It really was
good move by your parents. Yeah.
It was more structured. And it was also understanding for me that, this is kind of the real deal now. Like, you're 16 years old, and at some point you got to take it seriously. My brother and I'm seeing a lot of people around me who are going to good colleges and stuff. And I didn't want to end up not having that opportunity. So that's when I completely did a 180. And, I don't know about straight A's throughout my entire life after that, but my grades were certainly a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, very good. Are you folks still alive? Well, you said your mom's still fairly young.
Yeah. So my parents are still alive. They're snowbirds and they live up in New York, and then
that's right,
and have a place in Florida.
But retired.
Actually, neither of them are retired. My mom still does a little bit with cartoon cuts. And my father is still in private equity. He actually started his own consumer fund, about 7 years ago. And they focus on middle market, smaller consumer brands. And so he partnered with a marketing firm, and the combination of private equity and having that marketing branding arm, it's really a great formula for these companies that are smaller to mid-size, that are looking for an opportunity to really take that next step, right? Say go from 10 million in revenue to 50 million in revenue, that kind of thing. So
not nice. You don't want to work for your dad's firm? No.
That I'm not so much. I prefer the entrepreneurial side. Like, that's not, in my opinion, that's not true entrepreneurship, right? Like it's some business, and it's unbelievably impressive what he and his team does. But for me, I like being in there, get my hands dirty and building something from the ground up. And this,
I totally understand.
Yeah. And that's not really what he does. It's more at a higher level and building brands. And there's some similarities for sure. And the amount of learning that I can get from him has been priceless, but different enough where I prefer my path.
One last family question. What's your brother do now?
Matt works for a hedge fund. So he works for a hedge fund, Brigade Capital in New York.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. And he has a wife with 2 adorable kids who are awesome. And they live in Charleston, South Carolina.
Now, is he like the guy on that TV series Billions? I don't know if is he that guy?
I have seen Billions. He's like, growing up, maybe he was more of that guy, but no, he's a much better person than that guy is. That's for sure. He's probably just as smart. He's super smart. But I like to think he has a much better personality than
better morals, better ethics.
Certainly better morals and ethics.
Very good. So what the listeners don't know, I'll share this with them. So we have a mutual friend, Tony Maslish, who I worked for as the president for his company, Healthy Back. And at the time, there was a company called Sit for Less, which was an office chair company before X Chair. And that was 2010, 2013 is when I was working for Tony. And now, full disclosure for the listeners, Tony's still an advisor / friend, advisor to Riderflex, our recruiting firm. So an advisor and mentor to me, and still involved in my life, so to speak. So I've known him for a while now. And he and you connected somehow on this new adventure. Now, the parent company is Derbie Mobility Solutions. Is that the entity, the legal entity?
Exactly. Yeah. Derbie Mobility Solutions. And there will eventually be 3 arms to Derbie.
Okay.
Later, but go ahead.
Well, before you get into the arms, before we get to talk about it, tell me, how'd you meet Tony? How'd that come about?
So Tony was actually on, my father was on the board of Healthy Back in the early days. So he and Tony go way back. And so I had met Tony a few times growing up, and then reconnected with Tony when he was working at X Chair. And I was considering making the leap over to potentially working with him at X Chair. And we've stayed in touch. And then last summer we got to talking about potentially doing a business together. And that's
I see. Now, was your dad on the board? That must have been before my time there, huh?
This was probably, I don't know the exact time frame, but probably mid to late 90s, I would think.
Oh, okay. All right. No. Yeah, I started working for Tony in 2010. Are your dad and Tony, they still talk?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're still friends.
Yeah, cool. All right. So that's how you guys are connected. Interesting. All right. Very good. So you were talking to Tony then about X Chair. For the listeners, by the way, X Chair, Tony eventually sold X Chair, so you guys don't have that anymore. But you were talking a little bit. Maybe you're going to do some work for X Chair, but then he's like, "Yep, never mind. Sorry, I sold it." But hey, I got this other idea.
Yeah, it was more like. So I was working with another company at the time in the e-commerce space, and started talking to Tony more because I didn't even realize at the time that he owned XChair. And I came across a list for a marketing director position at XChair.
Oh,
now that Tony owned the company. So I chatted with him, and we both, we'd always liked each other, but I was a lot younger when I had known him before. But we got to talking, and for multiple reasons, it wasn't a fit at that time.
Okay.
But we stayed in touch a little bit after that. And this was probably 6 months before we started chatting about doing something like walking canes together. So we both had been thinking about the senior market and what you could do with consumer products there. And he actually approached me with the concept of what if we were to try and reinvent the walking canes market.
I gotcha. And was that a company in existence? Was Walking Canes already up and running? And did you guys purchase it from somebody? I don't know how much you can share.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely share. So our initial thesis was just to launch a completely differentiated Walking Canes brand.
Okay.
And we're still going to do that. So that'll be another arm of Derbie Mobility. But the more we learned about the market, the more we realized a lot of consumers like to buy their canes online from Amazon, obviously, but then some of these marketplaces specifically for canes and mobility aids outside of Amazon. So I talked to probably every single marketplace in the US, just trying to learn more, understand the business, see if this is something we wanted to potentially invest in or acquire. And we finally we found one, walkingcanes.com, that had a really good base of a business and had a lot of room to grow. So we purchased it back in May. Has a long history, been around since the early 90s. Okay. And they were based in Fairhope, Alabama. The guy who was running it at the time, Morgan, he and his father had run the business and done a fantastic job. And but at this point, they were kind of looking to exit the business, so the timing was just perfect.
Interesting. Okay, very good. Were they marketing it for sale, or Tony happened to knock on their door and they're like, "Oh yeah, actually, we are interested."
Cold called them. Yeah,
wow. Yeah. Oh wow, what a story. Okay, you didn't want to keep the office in Alabama? Why not?
Good question. It actually, Fairhope is beautiful in Alabama.
Is it? Okay.
I had never, honestly, I hadn't heard of it until we went there and checked out their offices and met with Morgan. But it's this really cute town right on the water there.
Nice.
And it's a destination town that a lot of people will go and vacation there.
Is this like near like Foley, Alabama? Like where is this, down in the Panhandle somewhere?
I'm not sure where Foley is, but it's out an hour outside of Mobile, Alabama.
Okay. All right. Very good. And so tell us then, and by the way, for the listeners, let's get this in here. Walkingcanes.com. Now, you said there's going to be 3 brands. Is that the only brand active and up right now where people can buy stuff?
Sticksandpoles.com is launching in about a week. That one, very soon, people will be able to buy stuff. But yeah, walkingcane.com is alive and doing pretty well thus far.
Okay. We're recording this, by the way, on September 12th, 2023. So by the time this launches, Sticks and Poles.
Poles.com.
Yes. Sticks and Poles will be live. What's the third one? Can you mention it, or is that top secret?
No, it's not top secret. So that'll be a brand called Derbie, Derbie, and Derbie, just like Derbie Mobility Solutions. Derbie handles, by the way, how we got the name, Derbie handles are a type of cane handle that has a particular shape to it. It's the most common cane shape, modern cane shape that people buy. Okay. So it was just our little, but that ends in a Y. So it was our little play on it to have the IE. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
What are the difference between the 3? Why don't you walk us through what each one does? Go ahead.
So walkingcanes.com is the marketplace for all different types of canes, right? So if you're looking for a wood cane, if you're looking for something that's a folding cane, you're looking for carbon fiber, you're looking for beautiful floral patterns, you're looking for some of the, there's a hot brand in the UK that just launched a couple of years ago called NeoWalk. We're the exclusive distributors in the US for them.
Nice.
They on our site. So it's really a marketplace for all different types of canes. And our goal is to help the consumer find, whatever cane matches their personality and whatever cane, really is something that they can not be embarrassed about using. A lot of cane users, it's unfortunate, but it's hard to sometimes accept the fact that you have to use a cane, right? And so if you're going to be out in public, it's not something that you can hide behind. There's no pretending that you're not using a cane. So you may as well have something that you're proud of that you can show off. So that's really our goal with walkingcanes.com.
I love that, by the way. I never really thought of that pitch around having a cane that's cool versus being embarrassed about it, until I went to the website and until I got one. And I thought, man, these actually can be fashionable. Like, this can be a fashion statement. This can be hey Bob, look at this new cane I got the other day, like showing his friend John, they're meeting for coffee and he's like, look at this cane. And John's like, wow, that's a pretty cool cane. I never really thought of it like that until I looked at your website. And I thought, okay, yeah, there's a cool factor in here that I think some people would be proud of versus, like you said, I'm embarrassed because I have to use it. I like it. I like it.
And the other 2 businesses that we're launching are related to the space. Derbie specifically, as I was getting into before, it's going to be our flagship brand, which is very differentiated in terms of the look and feel of the cane. So I won't get into too many details on what we're doing there, but it's going to be a real modern, differentiated look to the cane. And what we think, something that fills a void in the industry that has really had no innovation for a very long time. And to us, right, that's a problem. And that's somewhere where we can come in and hopefully make an impact on the market and fit that customer need.
Is it going to have like light beams on it or something? Is it going to shoot out little missile? What is it?
Oh, it's not. Look, it's going to have functionality that we think it's not going to have bells and whistles that are unnecessary and just showy, right? It's going to have features that are actually super useful to the consumer and not just things that look good on TikTok, if that makes sense. Things type thing, shoot out that I'm just not sure how valuable that truly is. So,
well, I'll tell you, I was thinking it would be valuable when I was using one of your canes hiking in the Wyoming wilderness. I was walking along, and granted, this was not a wilderness cane. It was probably more of a city park cane. I didn't order it the right type of cane for what I was doing that particular day. But I liked the cane, and I was thinking to myself, man, if this had like a little, like some little darts that shot out, or like a little sword that popped out, or like some bear spray on the top or something like that, that'd be really cool. I could use all that right now.
We say that because we actually do on walkingcanes.com have a sword cane.
Oh, you do? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah. And so they're actually, I mean, it's a collector's item, obviously, but it's really it's something. There's a small community of people who collect canes. So whether it be antique canes, cool looking canes, and they may not even use them really. It's just something that they, some people hang them on their walls, or just have cane racks, stands that they put them in. The sword cane typically falls into that, which is a collector's item.
Now, I was just joking around about some of the stuff a second ago, but on a serious note, like if you had one that had a little mace, but a little mace thing at the top, for the ladies that need like a little protection, or an alarm whistle, like a loud, you press a button and a loud alarm goes off. Is that already in place? You already have one?
They do. We don't have this, but we should probably get one on the site. But they do have one that's a taser.
Taser. Oh, I like that. Okay.
Might have to add that one. Yeah. Just comment on the video on this podcast when Steve launches it, and let us know if that's one that we should on there.
Yeah. And then if the taser / bear spray or mace / alarm whistle, if those end up being the best sellers, Tony needs to cut me in on the action for that deal.
I hear you. That seems perfect. You heard it here first on the Riderflex podcast.
What's now sticks and poles? I'm guessing that is more hardcore. I'm hiking, climbing a dirt trail, or what's that going to be?
Yeah, so sticks and poles is exactly what it sounds like: trekking poles and hiking sticks.
Okay.
We found in looking into the market, and for somebody like me, who I'm not a big time hiker, I enjoy going on walks, but some of these sites out there, I almost feel a little, and not to name any competitors, but a little intimidated.
Yes.
You'll go to the website and it's somebody rock climbing.
Yes.
That's not me. Like
the perfect in shape guy with like the perfect outfit on. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So me, I have a hard time going to that and saying, all right, how do I digest all of these different, this trekking pole has all of this stuff. What's the difference between this one and this one? What if I just want something that's pretty basic? Like, I want somebody to curate these for me so that I know, like, all right, these are good ones. So what Sticks and Poles is going to be is a site for those types of people who I would consider more of the everyday type, you're adventurous, but you're not, you're not
climbing 14ers in Colorado.
Exactly. So that's really what Sticks and Poles will be all about.
I think that's a huge segment of the population. I think that's your big market right there. I think you probably sell a ton. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I have high hopes for it, and I hope the curated products that we've gotten, I hope people like them. And, we're certainly interested in, if there are other products that people really like, checking them out and seeing whether or not they also make sense on the site. I think
I think it's interesting. When Kim first started doing this with you, I thought of canes as, I'm elderly and I need one for walking, period, right? Just for my balance. Or I'm the guy climbing the mountain, the 14er, and I have one of those fancy hardcore ones that you see, for serious hikers. I'd never really thought about the people in the middle until you just mentioned it, and until I used your cane while in the mountains doing some, not hardcore hiking, but I was doing some dirt trail hiking. And at 56, I never thought, well, I don't need a cane. And Kim got it for me. And at first I thought, this is cool, but I don't need this. That was my first reaction. And I took it with me to the mountains after she got it for me. And I did 6-7 miles one day. And the next day I did 3 or 4 miles. I did 2 days in a row of what I would call wilderness hiking, but I wasn't climbing mountains, but it was, in the sticks, so to speak. And I will tell you, and I'm not just saying, I know everybody's going to think, oh, I'm just saying this because Tony's my friend and all that. And Kim works for you, but I'm not just, that's not the reason I'm saying this. Like, I really got back to the campsite. I was like, man, what a difference. Like, that actually comes in pretty damn handy. Balancing, you're stepping over stuff, you're stepping down a hill. I found the second day, I was like, man, okay, I'm bringing this from now on. Like, now I know why people use these. And so I'm that guy in the middle that never even thought about having one. And now it's on my camping check. Like, I won't go to hike, go without it. You know what I mean? So just so you know, there's your testimony.
That's great to hear. And I do think you're right. I think there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way. And there isn't quite the same stigma about using a trekking pole or hiking stick. Like,
right.
A lot of people don't think of it as
right.
necessarily embarrassing. They're just like, oh, I don't need that. Like, I've been doing this type of thing for a while, but okay, it's helpful, right? Like, it is helpful. Have you tried it? Like, are you sure? Do you need it? No, not necessarily. Would it help you? Give it a shot.
I totally agree. I was the guy that used to make fun of the people in the mountains with those little poles. When I'd see them, I'd be like, I'd tell my wife, I'm like, look at that. That's dumb. Why do you got to have that? Yeah. Now I'm a fan. Very good. So the company now, how many employees total? I mean, I know you're just kind of getting started, but how big is it?
We're small. So now, me, Kim helps out a lot with the brand. Yeah. We have a great marketing person who helps out. We have a developer who I've worked with for a number of years, who's great. Fantastic. I can't say his name on the podcast because everybody will try and see him. I can't give him like that, and Tony and I work hand in hand. We just hired another woman who I worked with for a couple of years, and she helps with our website, helps with a bunch of different things. But that's basically the team right now. It's a combination of a few people who work full-time and a few part-time people. Yep. And I feel like we can get a lot accomplished with that. As we grow, we will continue to hire more and more. And I will put a plug in on your podcast. We are looking for some additional marketing and sales help. So if there are people out there who this sounds interesting to, I would love it if you connected with me.
That'd be awesome. Okay. Yeah, very good. So are you're captain, you're running this. Are you, what's your title? Owner, co-owner, co-founder, CEO? What are you?
I'm the CEO president, but I like to think that, and I know it's true, the team is really the one that carries us. Without the rest of the team, I would be that entrepreneur that's heading a bunch of different directions and not really getting enough done. I would be somebody who had a hard time managing all of these different pieces. So our team, so small, has done a fantastic job early on.
Would you call my friend Tony an active owner or passive owner right now, or somewhere in the middle?
I would say Tony, first of all, Tony has, as you mentioned before, a wealth of experience. And he's a fantastic business partner. Obviously at this point in his life, he's got multiple investments and multiple businesses that he's working on. But yeah, when it comes to what I'll say are some of the key pieces of the business, like he's always there and he's helping out with the strategy, and we work very well together. It might be less interesting to him to do some of the big time roll up your sleeves stuff.
No, he's on the visionary strategic side. Tactical is not in his vocabulary. You can tell him I said that.
Tony's put his time in. Like, he's built successful brands.
Yeah, for sure. And he's doing it. By the way, why don't we plug the basketball team for him right now? What the basketball team, the semi pro team? Can you mention that team real quick?
Absolutely. So Tony, as well as his business partner and GM and a few other people, just launched a professional basketball team in Frederick, Maryland, called the Frederick. Wait for
Flying Cows. The Frederick Flying Cows.
So he has been telling me for the last, I don't know, year, whenever he decided that he was first going to do this. And there have been so many iterations, and then they narrowed it down to I believe it was 5, and they ran a contest and said, hey, everybody vote on what your favorite name out of all these is. And Flying Cows won by a landslide. And
cool
it's a great name. But anyway, so Frederick Flying Cows, part of an organization called the Basketball League. And they have, I want to say they have like 40 teams now. It's getting pretty big. And it's professional basketball. They have a lot of athletes who dominated in college, played overseas. And so, and a lot of the locations that teams have popped up are some of these more middle-size or smaller markets that love sports, but also don't yet have a big-time sports program right nearby.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah,
Frederick is a decent-sized town in Maryland, and made a lot of sense for him to launch the team.
Yes. And Tony's always been a huge basketball guy, a huge basketball lover. That's his passion. Ever since I've known him, it's a huge thing. He's coached all the, bunch of kids in Little League and things like that. So yeah, he's super passionate about it. I can't think of anybody better to run a team like that or to own a team like that. And I know he'll just have a blast with it. So
play a little too. I don't know about that, but
yeah, the Frederick Flying Cows. I just love that name. When he first told me, I said, okay, well, I'm not going to forget that name anytime soon. Very cool. So walkingcanes.com. It'll be sticksandpoles.com. And what will the Derbie URL be? Just so that we, do you know what the website will be on that one?
Nice and easy. Derbie.com, derbieye.com. Yeah.
Derbie with an IE was available, or did you have to buy it from somebody?
Oh, we bought it.
Oh, okay. Was Sticks and Poles? That wasn't available. Surely not.
Poles was available.
Nobody on planet Earth had sticksandpoles.com. You kidding me?
I was shocked.
Well, I'm shocked. Well, it sounds like you'll have a blast. You're going to have a blast running this thing with Tony and building it out. You guys will have a lot of fun, and I'm sure it'll be successful because whatever he touches will probably be successful. So you'll have a lot of fun. I hope you're going to get big enough and be growing fast enough to where you're going to have to call me back, Riderflex, our recruiting firm, our day job, and we're going to have to help you recruit people. Right.
That is definitely true. Yeah. I mean, I would love for that to happen right away.
Awesome.
I think knock on wood, we'll grow pretty quickly. As we launch these 2 other businesses, there's a lot more work to go around.
Casey, thanks so much for being on the show. Appreciate it, man. Cool story. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. Happy to be on any other time, Steve. I know you already invited me 2 other times, so sorry, listeners, if he does, if I do take him up on that, I apologize in advance.
Oh, you're coming back. You're coming back on the show as this thing gets bigger. Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good, Steve. All right. Take care.